What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mindset Mutiny. Today is a pretty fucking awesome episode, to be honest with you. I'm pretty jacked up about it. And the reason being is that we are going to talk a little bit about my jiu-jitsu journey. No script, no fucking plan. Just going to rip it from memory because it's been a pretty special journey. It really has. And we're not far in, So I think we should start with why I avoided it for such a long part of my life. I wanted to do it. We always have these things that we want to do in life, and we're like, yeah, I really want to do it. I really want to do it. But like, there was like this burning inside of me that was like, I really want to do it, and I know I have to do it, and I'll get into why I have to do it in a little bit. So why I avoided it was I was unsure of myself, scared, to be honest with you. It was a real fear of mine that, obviously walking in there with a bunch of killers, getting your ass fucking handed to you is, it's a lot for some people to digest, that there's going to be another human being that's going to put their hands on you and try to tap you out, try to choke you against your will. That can be scary. Sitting here now, like, no, it's the best fucking thing on the planet. But when I first, was thinking about doing it, that was terrifying. And your white belt is the hardest belt you'll ever get. That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told. That's some documentation out there. And it's because it's the hardest one to get because you hold yourself back from it, right? By making excuses as to why you can't do it, why you're afraid of it. So for me, I have always moved through my life in the last 5 years confronting my doubts, fears, and insecurities. That is something that is super, super important. In any client that I work with, that's the first things that we talk about: doubt, fear, insecurity. Okay. Because you cannot achieve anything until you address those. And I don't mean surface level fucking shit. Okay. You get real, deep, dark doubt, fear, insecurity. Okay. When I started doing that and addressing it and fixing it, writing it down, taking the power away from it, my entire life started changing, and it started changing at a rate that I've never seen it happen before. So one of the biggest insecurities that I had that drove this wanting to start jiu-jitsu was I was afraid that if I ever really had to defend myself, I wouldn't be able to, right? What's really funny is, as men, we all think we're real fucking tough guys and we all think we can fight and all this fucking bullshit, right? 99.9% of people out there can't fight. They think they can. They can't even run a mile, so I don't know how they think they're going to be able to fight, right? So there's a big cardiovascular requirement here to begin with, right? So I kind of like find that enjoyable when I, see people posturing up, talking real fucking tough. And it's like, listen, if you're not training to fight, a certain number of days a week, then you're probably going to be pretty fucked. So I realized that, I'm going to be sleeping in my bed one night and somebody's going to come through my fucking front door and I'm not going to be able to get to my gun. And then it's going to be, one-on-one. Here I am with somebody. I better be able to stop this person because my wife's sleeping next to me and I don't want any harm to come to her. So that's a big insecurity to walk around with. And I got to tell you, I think most of you listening to this podcast right now have that same insecurity. And if you don't, well, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you, because as a man, you need to be able to protect other people around you. You need to be dangerous. All right. That's important. So part of my, journey towards beating those doubts, fears, and insecurities was that I needed to learn how to defend myself. And it wasn't going to be some bullshit self-defense class, because that doesn't really mean fucking shit. I had to get into something that was extremely uncomfortable and something that was designed that when the fight goes to the ground, you're going to come out on top. And there's something pretty powerful about that. So what's really wild is the way that it happened. Ever since I've been following Jocko Willink, I've always kind of been interested in jiu-jitsu. I've always heard him talk about it and how much it changes your life and how it does all these things for you. And you're kind of like doubtful about it at first when you hear about it. But like, as I kind of progressed, through my journey, I started to be like, wow, maybe there is a secret here, because, I started running and everybody always said there was a secret to running. And there was like this experience you would get out of it that would change your life. And I did all that. Right. But, for me, running is not like it's easy, but it's a very basic way of getting better. And, I understand it. I love it. And I continue to want to accomplish things in running, but it's not necessarily a big passion like it used to be. And it's the same with lifting weights, right? The more that I get into jiu-jitsu, the less I really find like that therapy in lifting weights. I do it now so that I can perform better in jiu-jitsu, I think is really the purpose of that now. But not to get too far along here, I would say at the beginning of January, which was like, when I was in the middle of my big move, moving my entire life to another place, lot going on, just starting the podcast. And that was I was having a hard time staying consistent there, which having a hard time doesn't really mean anything because I was actually still staying consistent. It was just a struggle to stay consistent, but still am. So anyway, I was at a meeting with a customer in my, I don't say my main career, but in my career as a director of operations, right? Not as the founder of Mindset Mutiny, right? Um, so I was there meeting with this customer, and I've met with him before, and I knew a little bit about his background. He had he fought in the UFC professionally, and won, I think it was 6 fights or 5 fights by knockout only. So dude throws a heavy hammer, right? Anyway, so we go up to, it was like up in New Hampshire. I'm meeting with him, and we're talking a little business, and then we talk more about self-growth development, some supplements that we're taking, and then all of a sudden the conversation turns to jiu-jitsu. And this guy I'm sitting across from, let's call him Joey. All right, sitting across from Joey, and he's just a calm, confident, fucking cool, badass individual, right? It's a certain level of just swagger, but it's a real humble swagger, right? Which is special. And if you ever get to meet somebody like that, it's very fucking cool. So we're talking, and I tell him, at this point in time, I'm done lying to myself with people. So, I straight up tell him, I was like, man, like, Joey, I'd love to do jiu-jitsu. I've just been scared of it for so long. And he just kind of looks at me and not like a chuckle, because he, very supportive individual, was just like, well, then you should do it. And I was like, fuck, shit. I'm like, this fucking guy, I can't get away now. I'm not going to be able to show my face to this guy ever again if I don't go fucking sign up. And the guy that I was that day, which I had built over some time, the old Mike Ivanov would have ran for the fucking hills, would have told me, yeah, and then not have fucking done it. So I can just remember, having some more great conversation. I walk out of there, I get in my car, make it fucking probably, a couple 100 yards up the street. I pull over and fucking sign up for jiu-jitsu. That was a life-changing moment. I didn't look at the schedule. I didn't see if I could handle it. In fact, there was a million pieces of evidence that said that I couldn't, which is definitely true. But I stacked more weight, like I've been preaching to all of you. So I said, know what? Fuck this. I'm signing up for jiu-jitsu, and it's going to change my life. And I've told Joey that. I told him, a couple of days ago, actually, I was like, hey, man, like, thank you for the push. You don't understand what this has done for my journey. So it's just funny how these things happen to you, but you have to be open to the universe to present those opportunities to you. And then you have to bet on yourself and say, yes, I'm going to fucking do it. Cause I could have just had that conversation like most of you would have said, oh yeah, I'll think about it. And then, go about your day, never fucking sign up and continue to want to do it. Right. And that wasn't even the hardest part. The signing up part was fucking easy, I think. I signed up online for like a trial class, which was like, okay, cool. So still really no like commitment in writing, right? Like, I'm going to show up to this trial class and we're going to see how it goes. So all of you kind of know, if you listen to the podcast that Kyle and I did previously, there's a cool story how Kyle and I got involved with doing jiu-jitsu together, and you can go back and listen to that. I won't ruin that for all of you if you haven't heard it. But so the day of going to jiu-jitsu for the first time, the work day is kind of ending, and I can feel like I got like a stomach ache, and I haven't had a stomach ache in a long time. And I can feel like the nerves working up, and I'm like, oh fuck, so I'm like driving over there, and I'm throwing some music to like really get myself jacked the fuck up. Cause I'm like, dude, you know what? I got to get ready for this. I'm a beginner again. I'm way outside my comfort zone. Like this is going to be scary. And you know what, Mike? you better be ready to get your fucking ass beat, because that's what's going to happen. And it's not going to happen from some fucking big guy. It's going to happen from some guy that weighs 125 pounds. It's going to twist your fucking arm off and then, giggle about it. Right. So I'm preparing my ego for that, because, I've been in plenty of hockey fights in my day and shit like that. And I can handle myself in that way, but like, deep down that if you're going to go against someone that's been training to fucking kick your ass, you're going to get your ass kicked. So yeah, so I was preparing for that. So I get there, out of my comfort zone, right? Like, I don't I don't know what to wear, how to tie my belt, any of that shit. And so I just say, you know what, fuck it, man. I'm a beginner. Let's embrace it. Let's get to meet people. Let's shake hands, find out people's names, let them know I'm here to grow, let them know that this is part of my journey, that I'm really excited to take this next step. And so that's what I do. I don't go hide in the corner and wait for all this stuff to happen. I'm out in front talking to people, get to know the coaches, learn all the things that I need to learn just before I even step on the mat, right? Like, there's a whole different process to how you step on the mat, all these different things, don't wear your fucking shoes in there and shit like that. So I'm like being really cautious of that I don't upset any of the tradition and whatnot. So we hit the mats, warm up a little bit. And like, literally the first thing that we do is like practice falling, right? Practice falling backwards. And like, I don't even know how to do that. You may think, oh, everybody knows how to fall backwards, but like, there's like a technique that you use to be able to absorb the fall, into your arms and not into your hips and into your back. Right. So when you fall, you kind of throw yourself backwards and make contact with your arms first. And that shit stings, So anyway, I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, this is wild. First thing that's supposed to be second nature, I can't even do. So I'm like, okay, dude, I'm in the right fucking place. Like, this is great. So we go through the class, get my ass kicked, kick a little ass, here and there, only because I think what they call it is like strength jiu-jitsu, where like I have no technique. I don't know any of the fucking moves, but I'm just trying to like muscle through it, which is trash. Okay. That's not the proper way. It's just making up for all sorts of like deficiencies that you have. So I was able to like not get totally fucked up the first time, but some dude took my back, choked me out from behind. And right as he jumps on my back, he was like, don't ever give you back, and I went home that night, wrote that in my journal. That was step number 1 in jiu-jitsu. Don't ever give your back. And I haven't since then, which is cool. And that guy, I still, see that guy and love rolling with him. Just always giving me good tips and feedback. So anyway, the class is over with, right? I had like the best fucking time on the planet, but I'm still scared and terrified, right? Because the second advanced class is coming in behind us, and I'm looking at these fucking dudes, and they're all killers. Absolute fucking killers, dude. And they're all like, there's some small guys, there's some big guys, there's some girls there that are absolute fucking killers. Like, I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like, wow, I'd love to be at that level, in 10 years, just to be, because it changes who you are. Everybody's gonna be like, that's great that you can like choke people and stuff. Like, nah, bro, it's not like that. It's not about that. Like, it changes who you are. It teaches you a whole different level of ways to look at life. And it changes how you walk through life, how you're received. Because, there's no more of like being scared that you can handle yourself, or any situation that could pop off. You're like, whatever, no big deal. Like, I know that I can handle this, or I'm set up to be able to, to control somebody and stop them from inflicting pain on other people. Right. And, and it's not about harming others. It's literally about, getting in control of somebody's posture, and then putting them in a position that can subdue them. Right. You don't have to choke everybody out. Right. Like, that's not the whole point. Yeah. Of course you want to tap people, but in real life, it's something that you want to use to stop trouble from happening, so that the proper, authorities can show up and handle the situation. Right. It's not about hurting people. And I think some people forget that in their journey. And guess what? If you start jiu-jitsu with that attitude, someone will come fuck your shit up. That's the best part about it. You want to walk in there with that attitude, someone's going to fuck your shit up, and you deserve it. So this has been so great for my ego. It's been so humbling. It's taught me so many things. It's helped me admit my fears, not just of injury, but of being a beginner, right? I think that's the biggest thing, that I'm walking into somewhere where I know nothing. And I think that you guys listening need to ask yourself the last time you were a beginner. Because I know when we talked about raising our baselines, I said something about being the king of the fucking kiddie pool, right? Like that's a fucking joke. Like you need to go somewhere and be a beginner. You need to go find that because it's unbelievable what it does for the adult mind. Because none of us have been beginners in a long, long time. And you might say to yourself that you never were a beginner in anything if you think about it. I was talking to a young man the other day, we were doing some coaching and, he mentioned that he took on a certain sport because he was good at it. And I was like, well, is that what you wanted to do? He's like, no, I did it because I'm good at it. And I was like, all right, but what do you really want to do? And he said what he wanted to do. And I think that sometimes what blocks people from really doing what they want to do is the same thing that blocked me, which was fear, doubt, and insecurity. And you don't want to be a beginner again. So don't do something that you're good at just because you're good at it if you don't want to do it. If you want to do something that you're not good at, go be a beginner at it, man. It's unbelievable. It can remove all these mental blocks from your life. It can give you things that you never thought you'd have. But don't worry about looking stupid. Don't worry about being weak. Put that ego away. And that's what jiu-jitsu focuses on. It kills the fucking ego. It humbles you. Right. And you sit there and you get choked and you're like, all right, let's do it again. Like, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And, you just keep getting fucking choked. And, and then one day you don't. And that's what's so amazing about it. But the moment that I finally, said fuck it and went all in was pretty awesome. So just real quick touch on, me signing up because I thought that this was pretty awesome. So I'm done my introductory class and, you have a couple more to go, before you have to make any level of commitment. But I went in there with a mindset like, this is what I'm doing. I don't care how scared I am, like this is what I'm going to do. So I walk over to the front desk and there's a nice lady there and she starts telling me a little bit about like what they offer. So they have a couple different membership structures, whatever, 3, 6 a year. And if you sign up for a year, you get a free gi, which is a great deal, and you're locked in. So like, I told her, like, I knew that I had to sign up for a year. I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't fucking go back because I knew there'd be some point in time where when I got home that night, I wouldn't be able to fucking walk or get out of bed. And I'd be like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. Right. So I just signed up for a year and she's reading me through like the disclaimers. And she's like, if you quit, you have to pay in full and all this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, fucking, that sounds awesome. Thank you. That's great. And I know she's sitting there like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? I'm telling him if he quits, he has to pay all this money. Like, why is he so excited about it? Because when you do things like this, you can't give yourself an out. All right. You can't. You just can't. I saw a guy signing up like, a month or two ago, and he was like kind of on the fence of signing up for, 3 months or, or 6 months. I'm like, I'm like, dude, do a fucking year, bro. Like, don't give yourself a way out. This is the best thing you could ever do for your life. And I will tell anybody that. And I believe that this is the best thing I've ever done for my life is jiu-jitsu, period. End of story. Nothing else does this for you. And I've been exploring so many things. So if you want to save some time, all right, and you don't want to explore all these things that I've explored and experience it, and you want something that's a multiplier of who you are and teaches you discipline and awakens the warrior inside of you, then go do fucking jiu-jitsu, man. Go get tapped out. Go get fucked up. That's what it's all about, man. And you become a weapon. And what really hardens is the mind. So anyway, I sign up for a year. I love all the disclaimers. I'm so fucking jacked up. I leave, I go home, and the next morning I wake up and I can barely fucking move, dude. I have never experienced that level of fatigue, that level of soreness, all of that. My fucking woke up in the middle of the night. My fucking hands were hurting. Like, it was amazing. It was fucking amazing. And I can tell you right now, like, when you're rolling jiu-jitsu with somebody and they're climbing on you and they're about to sink a choke in, man, there's nothing better than that. Everything is so quiet. It's just so perfect. And this whole thing just lines up with Mindset Mutiny. Like, it's raw, it's primal, it doesn't lie. There's no shortcuts, there's no pretending, there's no excuses, right? Every class is a war, right? It's a one-on-one war, but it's also a war against the other person. And this can really provide a new level of discipline because it forces your presence. No phones, no distractions. You're absolutely in a primal battle, human versus human. Okay. Like, all of you listening, when was the last time that you went human versus human with somebody and tried to choke each other out? Right. And listen, I'm not telling you to go do that shit in the fucking living room. Like, that's not what I'm recommending. But what I'm saying is, most of you have never had a grown man sitting on your fucking chest getting ready to choke your fucking head off. All right. You've never had somebody have your arm and they're ready to rip it off your body. Okay. There's a feeling there that makes you feel alive. And when you're able to get out of that or you're able to stop that, there's a whole nother level of power, how you walk around as a human being, right? So there's no faking like toughness on the mats, right? You see a lot of people that walk around, especially in the gym. You see a lot of guys walking around like they're the toughest fucking thing on the planet. I just laugh to myself and smile because I'll tell you right now, I used to be like that. I walk around think I'm a tough guy because I got some muscles and whatnot. As soon as you get on the mat, you start rolling with a skinny guy, 120 pounds. He's fucking, you got a foot of height on him, and he fucking just wraps you up like a pretzel, and you got to tap out because your arm's about to fucking come off, or you can't fucking breathe. Right? That is what's up. That is jiu-jitsu, man. And again, some of you listening are probably scared shitless, and if you are, then go fucking do it. Just do it. Stop thinking about it, man. You'll be fine. You'll be all right. You'll learn. You'll get better. You'll be able to choke some people at some point in time, right? So that fear, showed me I was in the right place. It's not about fighting. It's just about reclaiming like that primal part of me that needs an outlet. Had a really cool kind of occurrence the other day when I was at jiu-jitsu, and I'll probably bounce around now a little bit here. So I was finishing up, in the locker room, getting changed. I just finished. And like I said, the advanced class comes in after. So guy walks in the locker room, I just started making some small talk, said, "Hey, how you doing?" Right. And, I kind of, I was how jacked up I was because I love this shit. I was like, man, what a way to end a Friday night. And he's like, you know what? He had like an accent, and it was like he had a deep voice, and he was like, he's smiling, and he's like, yeah, everybody, in a deep voice, everybody needs an outlet, And I was like, this is cool. Yeah, I agree. Like, this is amazing. And he just looks at me calmly, and he goes, "Without jujitsu, I'd be a criminal." And I fucking was like, holy shit, like this guy's a fucking killer, dude. Then he takes his jacket off. He's got a fucking purple belt on. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, this dude's a fucking badass. But he's right. He's right. Everybody needs an outlet, and it's the best fucking thing you can do. But it was a pretty badass situation. You meet a lot of really cool people from all walks of life, all different income levels, all different, backgrounds. It's just cool. It's cool because on the mat, you're all fucking equal. Doesn't matter who the fuck you are, where you've been. You're going to get some, so yeah, so it's just really great. I had an opportunity to, this was actually quite humbling experience and quite terrifying, but rolling with an upper belt, a guy's a fucking machine, absolute killer. Just like lives for this shit and been training a long, long, long time, but young guy, not as muscular as I am. And so, the fear that I felt when this guy climbs up me and how calm he is when he's doing it and how hard I'm trying to keep him off of me. And he's just so methodically cool climbing up me, fucking around me a little bit. You can tell he's playing with me, right? Because he's giving me half a chance, right? So he's just fucking kind of like a cat playing with a ball of yarn. He's kind of just grabbing grabbing an arm here and kind of moving across me. And then all of a sudden, before you fucking know it, I'm in fucking midair, I'm fucking getting rolled over, and he's like giggling and laughing while we're fucking rolling. In fact, I think he was like making like when we kind of rolled, he was like, "Woo," like just totally fucking with me. And I loved it, cause that I'm like, man, this is what it feels like to really be fucking around someone that knows what they're doing. And then he fucking locks into submission. I got a tap, and we do it again and again, a couple of times more. And what's so great about it, is after you're done, like I'm all smiles, giving him a hug, like, this is the best fucking thing ever. People probably think I got something wrong with me, right? Which is accurate. I do have something wrong with me. So anyway, we rolling around. Then he gives me advice after. He's like, okay, you got to do this. You got to try to control my hip here, and you got to kind of do that. And the same guy, whenever I'm rolling with other people, he's walking around, giving me tips on my game and helping me out. So it was just really eye opening to roll with somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing. And it really makes you realize, like, yeah, you're terrified for good reason, because this human being is absolutely proficient at killing you. And it's awesome. There's just something about it. And, you won't understand it until you do it. And you could ask my buddy Kyle, he'll tell you the same fucking thing. And I don't want to steal his thunder because we'll talk about this at some point, but I just got a message from him, like, I think it was last night, of him in Japan on the fucking mats, with the locals rolling jiu-jitsu in Japan. He's a white belt. They're all black, brown, fucking, I didn't even see any purple belts. They're all top belts, and he's in there fucking rolling, having a great time. He sends me messages like, these are amazing people. This is the best fucking thing ever. Like, once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm proud of him for getting in the arena over there and fucking, and getting some. And what was so cool, and I'm sure he'll elaborate on this, but I know he sent an email to them before he got there, and he's like, hey, I want to get involved in whatever jiu-jitsu. I want to, roll a couple nights, whatever. And I think he mentioned he was a white belt, and they were like, hey, Kyle, there's no white belts here, but just come, we'll have fun, right along those lines. Right. And he's just a dude that's like the same way. He's going to run right into his fears. He's a student of the game, very, very high performer, a special guy, a special connection with him. And he's pushed me to achieve in my life. And I like to think I push him to achieve in his. So anyway, we're going through this jiu-jitsu journey together and absolutely smashing each other. A couple of the coaches pulled us aside the other day and we're like, dude, we love watching you guys smash each other, because Kyle and I kind of go at a whole nother level. And you know what? It's funny, like absolutely beating the shit out of somebody that you really like, and like then trying to literally choke them and sometimes being successful at it. And then just like, I don't know, it's a whole nother level for a relationship with somebody, right? Like a level of connection. So Kyle and I run a half marathon together. We never have really hung out before that. We've seen each other at a few events. Then we start doing jiu-jitsu together and we start choking each other and having the best fucking time ever. And it just, brings us closer, man. And, that's kind of how you kind of align a circle, man, with high performers, people that are going to push you. So it's just kind of funny to think about. Like, so I want you to picture, somebody that and a friend of yours, and then picture fucking trying to choke them and, making them bleed and whatever else, like we're bleeding when we're done, man, like straight up, so anyway, I just love it. I love the battle. I love watching other people, battle it out, and just the community in there, like after everybody's done and while you're beating the crap out of each other. It's just like the most powerful thing on the planet. There's nowhere to hide. There's no, little bubble. There's nobody protecting you. You're going to get choked. You're going to get smashed, and you're going to get humbled, and you're going to have to keep coming back, because every time you get tapped, every roll, it just makes a more dangerous version of you. And it's powerful. I'll kind of end this with like one situation where I'm getting choked. Okay. So this guy's underneath me, we were practicing chokes from the back. So he takes my back, and obviously he's got lined up to get a nice choke in. So we end up falling, kind of rolling over on our backs. So picture I'm on top of this full grown man. My chest is facing the ceiling. I'm looking up at the fucking, the fluorescent lights, and everything's starting to get real dark real fast, So you have to force yourself to buy like a second, so you got to start making some openings so you can start to breathe. You get his forearm off your jugular, right? So you can start to get a little more oxygen back to the brain, and you can start to think a little bit better. So you have to start to kind of get used to running on a little less oxygen, because, you're getting choked out, but you can get out of it if you're calm and you're methodical about what you do. There's ways to get out. Listen, sometimes you won't, okay? You'll run out of time, or you'll panic, and then you'll be fucked. So anyway, I can just remember he's choking me, and my vision is starting to get a little foggy. And, the coach is standing over the top of us watching this fucking go down. And he's, just like giving a little words of encouragement, like, hey, make a little space or whatever. So I kind of get a baseball grip around his wrist, and I start buying myself a little bit of time. He switches up and he starts choking me with my own collar. So now I gotta triage that situation. So I grab my collar with both hands and I yank on it, create a little space. So what I do is I roll over to a certain side, right? So when he's trying to choke you, you have to roll over to a certain side, which puts him at a disadvantage, and then will possibly allow you to turn your body towards him to get out of that choke. So things are getting blurry, and all I'm doing is focusing on breathing, deep breaths, being very calm. Was something very calming about being choked from the back. Okay. I don't know what it is, but like maybe it's the lack of oxygen, but it's very calming. All right. If you look at it and see it for what it is, and you say, okay, all right, there is nothing that will be harder than this in my life. And I think that's what I love about jiu-jitsu, is sitting there, getting my lights choked out. I'm just sitting there like, hey, it's the hardest thing I'm going to have to deal with. If I could deal with this, I could fucking do anything. And I think that's like the secret, behind jiu-jitsu is that problem solving under pressure. There is no bigger problem than you're going to face, okay, in your day, in your month, in your year, than getting your fucking throat choked out, okay? There is no other problem that's going to be scarier, okay? So I ended up rolling over, ended up getting out of it, okay? And that taught me a lot at that point in time, right? Where I could have panicked and tapped out right away, right? And nobody would have judged me for that because that's what happens. But I wanted to see if I could hang on a little bit. And I'm not going to have a big enough ego, right? Where I'm going to let my lights go out unless, listen, I'm not sure. You get close enough and you probably get a little disoriented and you forget to tap because I've seen that happen. But you wake up after, maybe a little confused. But anyway, it taught me a lot sitting there, getting choked. And time slows down to like, I don't know, I almost stand still because I had the time to like, and it's kind of funny. I'm sitting there and I'm getting choked and I'm looking at the fluorescent light and I'm like, I got to get out of this because I got to talk about this fucking shit on the podcast. I'm sitting there thinking about that. Like as I'm getting choked, like I'm really learning right now. This is the coolest fucking thing. I'm sure it was only happening for a couple seconds, but these are all the thoughts going through my head and I'm just calming myself down. I'm just breathing and I'm like, all right, yeah, I remember how to get out of this. And we're going to give it a shot. So let's make those moves. Let's think about what we got to do. Guy behind me squeezing like hell, dude, wants to fucking put my lights out. And that time he wasn't lucky enough to do so. And that's taught me a lot, just a lot about life and a lot about who I am. And I want, you guys to maybe experience that too. If you can, if you have the courage to get on the mats and start your kind of your fighting journey. I encourage you to do it. But for me, I got jiu-jitsu tonight. So fucking pumped. Be with a great group of high performers, people that just show up as they are. You won't meet a group of people anywhere on earth like people that you will meet at jiu-jitsu. And you're all there for the same reason, to grow and to become better and to become dangerous. As men, we need to be able to protect the weak and we need to be able to protect the people that we love and care about. But we also have to learn to problem solve under pressure. And that's all part of it. There is no problem at work. There is no problem in your personal life that you can't navigate if you can navigate getting out of being choked. All right? Let's just leave it at that. You all need to fucking get out there and roll some fucking jiu-jitsu. All right? Love you all. Hope you have a great night. I really enjoyed this episode. And I hope you got something out of it too, man. I fucking love jiu-jitsu. It's changed my entire fucking life. And it's the best thing I have ever done as a human being. I'll leave you with that. Later.